Hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Footballin' Show. So, today's episode, we're going to go over the crazy last couple of hours in the NFL world. It was the trade deadline today, and a lot of terrible things happened. Maybe one good thing happened, but that's about it. And then we're going to do our waiver wire show, our Fantasy Footballin' on a budget, right after that. So, huge episode. Huge day, crazy stuff. New season of Apex is out too, so I mean, everything's happening. A plane is flying over my house. They must know this show is on right now. They're gonna watch it later and be like, that was me. So anyways, trades. So we're looking at Chase Edmonds getting traded to Denver with a pick, first round pick, for Bradley Chubb. So Miami's defense is getting better. That's awesome. And then we were like, I was thinking, dude, Mostert's going to get all the work. I wonder what's going to happen with this. So Chase Edmonds to Denver. What do I think about that? I think that sucks. You still want Latavius Murray. He's the best bet there. But I think this was just part of a package to get rid of Bradley Chubb, and they had to take on the salary of Edmonds. So as far as like putting Edmonds in like these, they think he's a number one or something. I don't think so. It's more of a money thing. Sucks that they got rid of Bradley Chubb because, I mean, I work with a huge Denver fan. He was like devastated today when I told him. So that was big. Claypool to the Bears. It really doesn't mean anything for Claypool or the Bears because you're not going to start any Bears wide receiver maybe ever other than Mooney. And Mooney's been doing okay. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of like if you're a Mooney owner, if you're out there and you're a Mooney owner, I guess it's kind of scary. But, yeah, so you're probably not going to pick up Claypool. I wouldn't. There's other wide receivers on the waiver wire show that I'll talk about. But I think it's bigger for George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. They are on a bye this week. If you want to try to trade for George Pickens, I'd probably do that because he is like second, maybe third on the team of targets because Deontay gets like 10 targets a game, but they're only connecting on like 40% of those. So I do expect Deontay to continue to get his targets, but he does not have a good rapport with Pickens. But guess who does? George Pickens, whatever. God, dude. No, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. I get this confused. So anyways, pick up George Pickens or trade for him if you want. I think this trade is a big bump to him. It's an ode to their confidence in him. And then I think Claypool will be more, he'll be okay until they get a different coach or system or something going on there. Because I do like Justin Fields. You'll see him in our waiver show. But as far as like supporting wide receivers, no thanks. Hawkinson to the Vikings. Hey man, Vikings. I was going to do some like, skull! What do I think about this? Irv Smith Jr. just got put on IR. He got injured in the Cardinals game that I told you to start him in. It sucks. And then, but hey, man, I think this is like the second trade between the Vikings and the Lions in the last 2 years. The Vikings, gave up their pick so the Lions could go up and get Jameson Williams. So yeah, I think Hawkinson is going to probably be the same player. I mean, he's less dependent on in this offense. So maybe a little back from a little down on Hawkinson. But for football move, hey, I love it, man. I love it. Vikings, let's go all in. We've got an offensive coach. Let's go. Only problem is, Cade, I don't know, dude. Osborne's been good. I just see Hawkinson getting 6 targets a game and maybe a touchdown every 3 games, something like that. So Hawkinson's already owned. If not, pick him up. I wouldn't try to trade for him. Just hold on to him and see what happens. Great for the Vikings. Ridley to the Jags. That's kind of going under the radar. Next year, I know Trevor Lawrence is like up and down, terrible games, kills the Chargers, whatever. But I think that's going to be big time for next year because Calvin Ridley's awesome, man. So Calvin Ridley is going to be a good pickup next year. And then Hines to Buffalo. This is the worst, man. The worst. So we're James Cook people around here, right? He was my preseason MVP. I love James Cook. And then I was like, dude, Zach Moss, 2 healthy scratches in a row. You saw the game. Dude, James Cook looks electric. He really does. But he must not be good at pass protecting. Let me get this ball for my dog. I have a dog. 1 second. Bad dog. Don't do it. She never listens to me. Stop, please. No more. I have a Australian Shepherd that is just insane with balls, like throwing balls. He puts it by my feet, and if I don't throw it, man, I hear that. So anyways, Hines. So what do I think about Hines going there? I think if you're a Singletary owner, I think it sucks. Because I would just talk about, hey, man, remember that run that Singletary went on? I wouldn't mind trading for Singletary is what I was kind of thinking. And I was picking up James Cook this week. He's on my waiver wire show coming up, in a couple minutes. It sucks. So Nyheim Hines, probably about the same player on a different team, really. Probably worth picking up just to see how he's utilized, but I would imagine he's going to be utilized the same as he was with Jonathan Taylor. And then I was like, oh, this is great for Desean Jackson, man. I love that Desean Jackson, the backup to Jonathan Taylor. As soon as I saw him, I was like, who is this guy? He was on my waiver show, all that stuff. But now you're getting Zach Moss in there. It's just going to muddy things up. Sucks. Sucks for James Cook. Sucks for Desean Jackson. Just sucks. So, and then here's another big one. Jeff Wilson Jr. got traded to Miami. There was rumblings about this going on. And now he's reunited with Mostert and McDaniels. So they all played together for 6 games in 2020 with McDaniels as a run game coordinator. Mostert averaged 13.2 fantasy points per game in those games, while Jeff averaged 7.6. Mostert had 165 snaps, Jeff 154. So Mostert is still the number one here. Edmonds was like, I drafted Edmonds. I followed the money. I loved his yards per carry in the San Francisco last year, all that stuff. But I am thinking right now, I would not worry too much about Jeff Wilson Jr. in my backfield. He's going to be a little hurt on Mostert, but this has happened all before. And Mostert was like an amazing player when he had Jeff Wilson Jr. behind him. So that sucks. And then for the 49ers, they had a surplus of running backs anyways ever since the CMC trade, so that changes nothing. If anything, I mean, Elijah Mitchell's going to get a couple more snaps per game, but we're not starting Elijah Mitchell anyways behind CMC. So those are all the big trades. Brandon Cooks, who I was holding on to till the end of today, now has to deal with the team that tried to trade him. So I might be dropping Brandon Cooks. I'm in a 10-man league, which is like, spoil of riches. But there's better options right now, and I don't want to deal with all this Brandon Cooks stuff, even though he just had his best game, I think 4 for 70-something. So, yeah. All right. That's all the crazy trade stuff, right? Crazy stuff. All right, let's go to the running backs. Number 1, Tyler Algier. Falcons give 2 running backs 10 rushes per game. This will continue when Cordell Patterson comes back. So I've been kind of off. I'm like kind of off, not on Algier, even though I kind of like the way he runs. Jason was talking about how he runs in slow motion and everything. But he's a powerful dude, and he takes contact. I kind of like it. So, he's like a low-end flex right now. And I think that might continue even when Cordero starts and comes back, because they are literally giving 2 running backs 10 carries per. So, he's still going to get double-digit touches even when Cordero Patterson comes in. And then their third, dude, Kobe, God dang it. I can't remember their the backup for him right now. He's getting a lot of carries, but he's not really doing much with them. He's much more inefficient than Algier. So if you want to pick up Algier, I'd spend $15 on him. I mean, it's so hard to find a running back that gives you numbers right now. It's not bad. Number 2, Isaiah Pacheco. Oh, yeah, and plus, they have a great schedule for running backs the rest of the season. The Falcons do. It opens up here in a minute. And then Isaiah Pacheco. So the Chiefs, I'm going to throw this ball real fast. Just take it and go. Take it and go. 1 second. Come here. Just so you know I'm not lying, man. There really is a dog here. No more. No more. So, next up, Isaiah Pacheco. $15 I'd spent on him. Chiefs announced that Pacheco was the starter. last week before the bye, and I was all about that. And he went 8 for 43 against San Francisco, who's an amazing run defense. So he, got the opportunity and he did something with it. It wasn't all of the opportunities, but I'm sure they didn't want to run the ball a ton against San Francisco anyways. But there could be a total shift of opportunity after the bye. So usually they do this kind of stuff after the bye, but they did it right before the bye. So who knows what that really means. But it could mean that they're going to implement this heavy Isaiah Pacheco after this. And remember, he's a Kareem Hunt kind of clone. Same height, same weight, just faster. So, but, Kareem Hunt's probably better runner. Dang it, no. Dude, this dog is ruining my show. But we got to go, man, because I'm putting this out late. Okay, so next up, well worth the stash. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyways, James Cook was my number 3 pickup, but I won't even talk about that because it ain't happening anymore. I was going to say spend $5 on Cook. He looked great, and the strength of their schedule for running backs opens up a lot here in a minute. So, no more Cook, but hey, Latavius Murray. Edmonds just arrived, but Latavius has 2 goal line touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. So he is a goal line back. Russell Wilson actually looked better, believe it or not. I mean, yeah, you can believe it because he couldn't look any worse. So as this offense begins to maybe click a little bit better, they're going to get these red zone opportunities, and they're terrible in the red zone, and Latavius has actually been working for them. So if they just want to keep on rolling with this, Latavius is probably going to be 50 yards and a touchdown-dependent player, but that's like a flex right now. So if Latavius is still there, people might be afraid about Edmonds and this whole Gordon and everything. Pick up Latavius and don't be afraid to start him in your flex. Next up, I know this is kind of out of order, but I'd spend $10 on Kyren Williams. And then Ronnie Rivers, you can pick him up just to see what's up, but he got a lot of opportunity, and they obviously hate Darrell Henderson, but he looked really quick, but he doesn't look like anything more than a third down back to me. So I'm expecting Kyren Williams just to get a ton of work once he comes back. So Kyren Williams has been on this list for a month. Pick him up. He's closer and closer to coming back, and they didn't even get anybody, over on the trade deadline like Hunt or somebody else. So they believe in Kyren. Pick up Kyren. Next up, Rachaad White. He's still only 25% owned on ESPN. But this is a handcuff. He's going to be a low-end running back 1, maybe high-end running back 2 if Fournette ever goes down. And he looks the part, and Tom Brady loves to throw to his running backs. He would get a lot of points. Next up, Jaylen Warren. Harris looks injured or washed, really. And then Warren is way more efficient. And if Najee is dealing with an injury like it looks like, it's just like a nagging injury, they could shut him down because he was such a high draft pick. And it's not like their team's winning a bunch anyways. So Jaylen Warren went 6 for 50 last week. Najee went 8 for 32. And the Steelers have played the most difficult schedule of 2022. The rest of their schedule is graded to be the 20th most difficult. So for him and Najee both, this is going to open up a lot more for them. And plus the wide receivers, remember that. So Steelers commodities are looking up after this week. So I've liked Jaylen Warren all year, ever since I saw him the first time. He's been on this list 5 different times. So that's it for the running backs, wide receivers. We're going to go to, I just got notifications. Hey, Matt, thanks for replying. I just saw you. I put notifications on my YouTube. Now I can see when people reply. Haha. I've been talking about this dude nonstop. $20 I'd spend on Josh Palmer. Mike Williams out. Allen not practicing. Austin Eckler tells the world to pick this dude up. I'm going to start him over Michael Pittman this week. I expect 10 or 11 targets and 100 yards and a touchdown. And I am not even kidding. That is going to probably happen. Maybe not the touchdown, but 100 yards for sure. Pick up Josh Palmer. Trade for Josh Palmer. Your last opportunity for the next month probably. Next up, throwing this in here because, he had a lot of bad weeks, so maybe somebody dropped him on your team. Garrett Wilson, only receiver that can be trusted on the Jets. Davis is out, and if they decide to change the game script, like they throw, because so they were throwing like 20 times a game with Zach Wilson and Breece Hall. Breece Hall gets injured, they throw the ball twice as much. If this continues, you want to pay attention to this, because like say they're like, oh, we don't have Breece Hall, we're just going to start throwing it and see what we have in Zach Wilson. You might need to pick up Garrett Wilson and another dude from this team I'll talk about in a second. So yeah, $15 I'd spend on Garrett Wilson, $10 on Rondale Moore. He had a bad week 7, but he had a short week and he was going against the Saints. Last week he got 7 for 92 and a touchdown, and that touchdown was awesome, man. Like he had to he had to work for this touchdown. It wasn't just an open catch, you know. He's a great player. And until Hollywood comes back, you are starting him as a flex or low-end wide receiver 2. That's just kind of the way it is right now. And nobody's picking him up. I might pick him up if I wasn't all about Josh Palmer. Dude, should I drop Brandon Cooks to pick up Rondale Moore? No, because it's not a permanent situation. If it was, I would. Wan'Dale, only 3 targets this last game, but it was at Seattle. That was just a crazy game for the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones, everybody. Playing at Seattle is so difficult. And that's a young team. You can almost throw that out. And but their schedule opens up a lot as far as difficulty goes against wide receivers, passing. So Wan'Dale looks, I'd spend $10 on. He's the rookie with 8 targets before the half last week. So he is the hyper-targeted player in that offense that was drafted by Brian Daboll. And on that same team, I'd spend $5 on Darius Slay. He has at least 10 fantasy points, 6 targets, and 50 yards in 3 of the last 4 weeks. Big play Slay, dude, if you've been paying attention to fantasy for the last couple of years. He has weeks where he's amazing. And as long as he's healthy, he's an amazing wide receiver. So Darius Slay, you can pick him up and flex him out. Hardman, next up, $5 on Hardman. Bye last week, and now Tony's in the building. But he has scored a touchdown in weeks 5 through 7. Chiefs want him involved, even though he is averaging below four targets a game. So he's getting all these gadget plays, and he does get some deep targets. So the touchdowns are coming his way, and as long as the touchdowns are coming his way, you're going to start Mecole Hardman. But you do want to pay attention to the Tony situation because he might be the gadget guy here in like a month. Next up, Duvernay. He doesn't produce that many points, but like, dude, Bateman's gone. Mark Andrews is injured. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's jacked. He's the fastest dude on the team. He gets all the kick returns. He looks amazing when he runs it. He looks amazing when he catches it. He looks awesome. So I'm just wondering how long it's going to take for him to start dominating, and if the coaches are seeing what I'm seeing, because they know more than I do. So maybe there's something I'm not seeing. But I'd spend $5 on Duvernay, $5 on Doubs. No trades went through, which is crazy because the Bears got Chase Claypool, you know, and the Packers are like, what the hell is going on around here? So maybe they do sign OBJ, but until that time, Doubs is it, dude. Like, yeah, he's going to have bad games, but he's also going to get some good games. So if you want to just start Doubs, I mean, it's a roll of the dice, but he's a number 1 option pretty much as long as Lazard is out. So if Lazard's out, you're probably starting Doubs. Next up, Treylon Burks. He's going to be coming back soon, number 1. And as soon as he steps on the field, he's the number 1 option for the Titans. And we better hope that you're not starting him unless Malik Willis is not playing. You're only starting him if Tannehill is starting. But if Tannehill's playing, dude, this is like a really good wide receiver option you can pick up off the waivers. If somebody dropped Treylon Burks, go pick him up. $5, and then $5 on OBJ. Who knows where he's going? We heard the Bills. We heard all kinds of stuff, dude. But the Packers might be pretty desperate right now, so we'll see that. And then, dude, nobody talks about this guy. Khalif Raymond, over 70 yards the last 2 games since the Lions is bye. And he gets a lot of rushes, too. Like, he's getting the Amon-Ra rushes, you know, like the jet sweeps. And now Hawkinson's out. So, I mean, Josh Reynolds. And so I've got Josh Reynolds here, too, right below it. I'll just talk about both of them all in one. So Khalif Raymond and then Josh Reynolds. So Josh Reynolds was getting, like, you know, double-digit targets until the bye and then hasn't been getting much. Then Khalif Reynolds has been getting all the targets after the bye. And now Hawkinson's gone. So it's either Reynolds or Khalif Raymond that is going to take over some significant role in this passing game. And that Jameson Williams, I think Dan Campbell said he's still like a couple weeks out, 3-4 weeks out. So I love having Williams on my IR, but if you want to pick up one of these dudes, they're going to produce some points. Next up, $1 I'd spend on Jahan Doxson. He needs to get healthy, but he's a red zone threat. And Tyler Heineke looks like he's better than Carson Wentz. Only problem is that Tyler Heineke loves McLaurin in the end zone. But, hey, man, we saw Jahan Doxson. We know what rookie wide receivers can do. He looked awesome. So I know it sucks because he might be a third option, but I think he's worth a stash. And just to see how he plays out once he hits the field with Heineke again. Matt Hollins, since week 2, he's been averaging 6.5 targets per game. And if you watch those games, I have to watch like every Raiders game because I'm on the Northern California. But man, he targets him all the time. So, and if he would have caught this really long touchdown pass, but Derek Carr threw a terrible pass and almost got him killed. But he still tried to catch it real fast, but he almost got killed. So, Matt Collins, Peoples-Jones, 5 targets a game and over 70 yards for the last. My battery's going dead. I thought I plugged this thing in. Let me plug it in again. This is a crazy show, but hey, it's a crazy day. I'm trying to get through this before 30 minutes. I'm so sorry, guys, but so much has happened today. Peoples-Jones, 5 targets a game, over 70 yards for the last 3 weeks. And now we have Deshaun Watson coming back in a month. You can start Peoples-Jones. People don't want to do it. It's funny because I'm using people and Peoples, but you can start Peoples-Jones. Zay Jones, another Jones, only 3 targets this last week, but he's worth a stash if you're desperate. And he went against Denver last week, but I mean, Zay Jones was the number 2 option in this offense for a long time, and you haven't really heard about Kirk. Seems like Evan Engram is kind of stepping up while Trevor Lawrence is having kind of a dip in production. But Zay Jones if you're desperate. And then Van Jefferson for the Rams came back, got 0 targets last week. But when targeted 6 times per game in 2021, he averaged 10 points a game. So he doesn't need many targets in this offense to average a decent amount of points. And their schedule opens up a lot more for the passing game going forward, which is good for Matthew Stafford because that fool needs it. Then Dimitri Byrd, I think he's for the Falcons. Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. Only 4 total targets, but it's worth watching in that offense because Drake London's not doing anything. And then Terrace Marshall, 2021 hype train, Terrace Marshall Jr. He has a bad matchup versus Cincinnati next week, but he had 9 targets and 87 yards last week. And who is it? So it's Terrace Marshall Jr. and DJ Moore, and I kind of like PJ Walker right now. So you might be able to take a chance on that number 2 wide receiver there. And then the hot stuff last week was Paris Campbell. He had 11 targets, 12 targets, and then Ellinger came in and gave him 2 targets. So don't worry about Paris Campbell. Now tight ends coming up. I've been talking about this dude even before we started playing. Dulcich. I'd spend $20 on Dulcich, whatever his name is. He's only got 3 games as a rookie, and it seems like he's taken over the Sutton targets. So he's like the highest targeted guy on this team almost, and he's getting end zones targets. He looks like a real deal, and Russell Wilson likes him, or is throwing him the ball at least. So did a Rippin, so maybe the coaching staff likes him. They drafted him, so probably. So yeah, he's the top tight end target right now. And then Evan Engram, man, my preseason darling, he's getting the targets, and now he's getting red zone targets, and his schedule opens up. So you can see Evan Engram. I mean, he's being pretty consistent anyways, except for the touchdowns. But hey, he got his first touchdown. Maybe that clicks something for Trevor Lawrence and starts to look his way more. I spent $10 on him, and then Conklin, 10 targets and 2 touchdowns versus the Patriots. We need to see if this is like a thing. Remember what I just said was with Breece Hall, they only threw the ball like 20 times, and now they're throwing it 40 times. So if they continue to throw the ball a lot, you're going to want to pick Conklin back up and start him because he's awesome. And then Isaiah Likely, I watched this game and I was like, who is this wide receiver killing it for the Ravens? That's not a wide receiver. That's a tight end. It's a rookie tight end. And so Isaiah Likely is awesome, dude. Like if Mark Andrews didn't exist, we'd be like this 100 fab on this tight end, man. But they've got 1 game and then a bye, so they might rest Andrews this week and then give him that bye and then come back totally healthy. So Isaiah likely would be a smash play for a tight end this week. I'm probably going to pick him up because I've got Muth, and he's on the Luth, as in, like, he's not playing. He's on bye this week. So I've got to look for a tight end. And then Cade, spend $1 on. He's a rook. He had a touchdown called back last week, and I've been talking about this. He gets targets, but he's kind of touchdown dependent, and we know that Brady loves throwing touchdowns to his tight ends. This is like the first time he's actually been trying to do it. So going forward, maybe he's going to start getting red zone targets, and he's going to be super valuable. Okay, so quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, he has a bye, and then he's at home versus Houston and Detroit. He's still QB 10, but he had one of his worst games last week, so nobody really wants him. But if you're looking for a quarterback, not this week, but for 2 weeks after this, dude, you could start him. He's probably a top 10 quarterback those 2 weeks. $1 on him, $1 on Justin Fields. Week 5, QB 12. Week 6, QB 9. Week 7, QB 5. Week 8, QB 5. Had you told me I should be starting Justin Fields this whole time, and I'd probably be winning some games, I would have told you you're crazy. But it looks like I should be starting Justin Fields. And then Dalton, 31 points, and then 17 points. But he's a starter. I think he's implanted himself as a starter. They're playing well, and his floor is pretty high, it seems like. And then number 3, Deshaun Watson. He returns week 13 versus the Texans. So, hey, this is a freaking quarterback wasteland this year, dude. It's like my Achilles heel ever since I drafted oh my God, I can't even think of his name, dude. Trey Lance. I've been fighting tooth and nail for quarterbacks. At least I've got Tua, but I've started him when his head, all this stuff. So anyways, Deshaun Watson's returning, and then Mariota. So this is where Mariota, he's kind of like off and on, but still 24 points, 12 points, 24 points, 18 points. That's one bad game. You can start Mariota, it looks like, even though he doesn't throw the ball, but he's getting rushing touchdowns and some stuff. And I was talking about their schedule does open up a lot going forward. And then defense. Look, so there's some good defenses on bye this week, so look to see who drops them. The Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Browns. So if you can pick up some of those defenses and just eat it, put it on your bench, it would probably be worth it. Anyways, I tried to go as fast as I can. I'm so sorry, guys. But there was a lot to get to. It was a crazy day in fantasy. And I didn't even ask you to like and subscribe. Could you like and subscribe, please? That'd be great. Or don't like it and thumbs down, leave a hurtful comment. Anyways, thank you so much. I'm going to start working on this right now and put it out. Later.